Howdy everyone. Well, I'm back in my own shop working on my own plane. I've gotten a few things done and I'd like to catch you guys up real quick on what's happening. So you can see that I've got the oil cooler on. Originally it was just loose and kind of flopping around. I just wanted to get it in place so I can run some cables around it, so to speak. So I needed it in place just so I could do that. But now I've got it pretty much permanently attached. I've got it adjusted. I've got the correct hardware on it, the actual flight hardware on it. I did have to take it completely off of the airplane. This 90-degree fitting here that screws into the oil cooler, you cannot screw that on with the oil cooler in place because of the engine mount. So the cooler had to come out. I had to pre-position this 90-degree fitting and then put it all back together. So it is now back together. This inlet ductwork is just laying up here. Again, I just had stuff up as references so I can get things somewhat into position. So incorporated with the engine mount, I've added a couple of clamps here for this one little ground wire, and I've got a clamp back here that's also attached to the oil cooler mount. I've got some stainless straps to hold my cabling together, and then of course I've got more clamps actually attaching the cable to something solid to keep it from flopping around. So I've got my alternator cable now connected, my main cable for the starter. The starter does work. I've got these drain lines, cylinder drain lines, oil drain lines for each cylinder. I've had these in place before, but I've redone them. I wanted to use this stainless steel safety wire, but the tool that I use can't get back in here. So originally I had the typical screw type worm clamps, but since then I've taken this apart and I've switched over to more of a band type of a clamp. These are spring clamps and I like these better, so I went ahead and bought some and I switched them out. I'm not using the screw worm type clamps anymore. I never did care for those. So I've replaced all four of these, the two on this side and two on the other side. And I think that's about it for now. Oh yes, this cylinder baffle here has a hole in it, and it had a grommet there. This was actually on the other side of the engine, and I brought it over on this side, and I took the grommet out because I'm going to run, let's see if this will show up here, this fitting here. This is the fitting that goes from the servo, and it feeds the divider up on top of the engine. So my plan is to run this fuel line from this fitting across and then up through that hole here in the baffle. And then that line will come up between the cylinders and plug into the fitting that I'm going to put right here on my divider. So I had to switch those cylinder baffles from underneath. And I think that's about it. I think that's all the new stuff so far for me here. I think I've already talked about running this starter. I had to rewire the starter switch. I had two wires reversed on the starter switch. That was taken care of, and now the starter operates just fine. So I bought some fuel line, I bought some oil line, I bought a bunch of fittings and some fire sleeve and things of that nature. So I'm going to start making my own hoses for oil and fuel, and I'm going to start getting them figured out and put in place. So in the process of doing that, again, there's a fitting. Let me see. I'm not going to be able to show it, but there's a fitting. Let's see. This 90-degree fitting right here. Again, this fitting with the what goes here. The adapter for the oil filter bolts here. With that in place, you cannot install this fitting. So I had to remove the oil adapter, the oil filter adapter that goes here. And then in order to get that out, there was one nut that I couldn't get out, so I had to remove the P-mag that was here. So the P-mag had to come out so I can get the oil filter adapter out so I can put this fitting on. So this fitting is now in place. This is gonna go to and from the oil cooler. So this 90-degree fitting here, this one here, and this straight fitting here, these are my oil cooler lines. So I'm going to work on those next. I'm going to get these lines run over to the oil cooler, and then I can put this filter adapter back on and my P-mag back on here. And then I'll move on to other things. All right, so that's the latest and greatest. Thanks for stopping in, and I will talk to you guys later.